The owner of an airline boards his own plane, but he is humiliated and forced out of first class because of his skin color. The crew has no idea who he is, and his response shocks everyone. But let's start from the beginning. Martin Williams boarded a Skyways flight, deliberately trying to remain inconspicuous. Dressed in casual attire, jeans and a dark gray sweater, he blended in effortlessly with the other passengers. His purpose for this flight was to experience the service of his recently acquired airline from the inside. He took his seat in first class, pulled out his tablet, and began working. A few minutes later, a slim blonde flight attendant named Emily approached him. Glancing at the passenger list, she paused before looking down at him. "Excuse me, sir, it seems you've taken the wrong seat," she said with cool politeness. "This is first class." Martin calmly looked up, showed her his ticket, and replied, "That's correct. This is my seat." But Emily wasn't convinced. Frowning, she leaned closer and added in a quieter tone, "Perhaps there's been a mix-up. Let me check again." Moments later, Emily returned with her colleague, the senior flight attendant, Stephen. His expression was tense, as if he anticipated trouble. "Sir," Stephen began, scrutinizing Martin's ticket, "it seems there's been a mistake. We'd be happy to offer you a seat in economy class. It may better suit your expectations." Martin smiled calmly, but firmly. "I'm confident that my ticket is for first class, but if this is such a matter of principle, I'm willing to move." Stephen nodded in approval, and Emily escorted Martin to economy class, ignoring his attempts to share his thoughts. Passengers whispered among themselves, and someone even pulled out a phone to record the incident. Seated in the cramped confines of the economy section, Martin endured the judgmental glances and pitying remarks. "Poor guy, must have mixed up his ticket," an elderly woman beside him remarked. Martin said nothing, staring out the window instead. His patience was not infinite, but he knew one thing. The most important part was yet to come. Half an hour into the flight, Martin sat patiently in the economy class, waiting for service. Emily, who was handing out drinks, walked past him without acknowledgement. She exchanged a joke with a first-class passenger, who asked loudly, "So, someone from economy tried sneaking in here?" Emily smirked and replied, "It happens. Some people still don't understand that you can't just waltz into first class." Martin noticed several first-class passengers turning to glance in his direction. Among them was a young woman, discreetly recording the scene on her phone. Meanwhile, the senior flight attendant, Stephen, was addressing a complaint from a first-class passenger about a malfunctioning seat. As he searched for the key to access the seat panel, he opened a storage cabinet containing company documents. His eyes fell on a folder prominently featuring a photo of Martin on the front page, marked, "New owner of Skyways." Stephen froze as the realization hit him. He hastily closed the cabinet, his composure shaken. The nervousness in his expression was unmistakable as he approached Emily, who had just returned with a tray of drinks. "We made a huge mistake," Stephen whispered, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. "He's in economy. That man, he's the new owner of Skyways." Emily's face went pale as disbelief spread across her features. "What do you mean? That man? Are you sure?" she stammered. Stephen nodded gravely. "Yes. We need to fix this immediately." Before they could take any action, the passenger from first class, who had been recording, uploaded the video to social media. Within minutes, it started to gain traction. One comment read, "Actual discrimination on a Skyways flight. The new owner of the airline humiliated by a biased crew." Unbeknownst to Emily and Stephen, a full-blown reputational crisis was already brewing, threatening to overshadow anything they could do to rectify the situation. Midway through the flight, the tension in the air was palpable. Emily cast nervous glances at Martin, but hesitated to approach him. Stephen decided to take matters into his own hands and address the situation. He walked over to Martin, bowing his head slightly in an apologetic gesture. "Apologies for the misunderstanding, sir," Stephen began. "It seems there was a mix-up with your ticket. Please allow me to escort you back to your originally booked first-class seat." Martin looked up with a faint smile and replied, "There's no need. I'd prefer to finish the flight here." Stephen stepped back, visibly shaken by Martin's unexpected response. Returning to Emily, he whispered, "He doesn't want to go back. We're in trouble. This could cost us our jobs." Meanwhile, social media had erupted into a frenzy. The video featuring Martin's treatment in first class was garnering thousands of views, with comments growing increasingly harsh. A first-class passenger who had filmed the incident uploaded another video, revealing that the man humiliated and sent to economy class was none other than the owner of Skyways. The story went viral, catching the attention of news outlets. The captain of the flight, alerted by Skyway's central office, promptly left the cockpit to address the situation. He approached Martin with an air of urgency. "Mr. Williams," the captain said, "I have just been informed of the incident. On behalf of Skyways, I deeply apologize for what happened. We will ensure this is thoroughly addressed." Martin, maintaining his composure, responded, "Thank you for the apology. I understand that mistakes can happen, but I'd like to discuss the actions of your crew after we land." The crew now realized that their errors had gone far beyond the confines of the airplane. Public scrutiny was intensifying, and passengers whispered about the unfolding drama. A first-class passenger, overhearing the conversation, approached Martin and shook his hand. "Thank you for staying calm," the passenger said. "This has the potential to bring about real change." The climax of the flight came when the captain made an announcement over the PA system. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your understanding. We would also like to express our gratitude to a very special passenger for their patience. We hope this flight serves as a lesson for all of us." Emily and Stephen exchanged uneasy glances, knowing that their futures at Skyways now hinged on the discussion waiting for them after landing. After the plane landed, passengers disembarked, murmuring about the incident. Emily nervously adjusted her uniform, avoiding Martin's gaze, while Stephen kept his head down, trying to appear neutral, despite knowing the consequences were inevitable. The captain invited Martin to the airport's VIP lounge for a private discussion. In the cozy lounge, the captain stood with Emily and Stephen opposite Martin. The atmosphere was tense, as though time itself had paused. The captain began, "Mr. Williams, we deeply regret what occurred. This does not reflect the standards we aim to uphold at Skyways. I take full responsibility for these mistakes." Emily, sensing the need to speak, stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Mr. Williams, I am truly ashamed. I realize now how wrong I was. My behavior was biased, and I deeply regret it. Please accept my apology." Martin held their gaze in silence for a moment before speaking, his tone even but resolute. "Your apologies are accepted, but they don't address the root problem. What happened here today is not just an error. It's a symptom of a much deeper issue. An issue that exists not just at Skyways but in society as a whole. I'm not here to hand out punishments, but I am here to demand change." Stephen attempted to interject. "We didn't mean any harm. This was all a misunderstanding." Martin raised his hand to stop him. "A misunderstanding? Is that what you call seeing me not as a customer, but as someone who doesn't belong in first class? That's not a misunderstanding. That's a problem of perception." He continued, "Skyways must become a model of equality and respect. In the coming days, I will initiate a company-wide retraining program. This won't be just another workshop, but a comprehensive overhaul of our corporate culture." Emily stepped forward again, her voice shaking. "I'm willing to learn, sir. Please, give me a chance to make this right." Martin nodded. "Both of you will participate in the program. If you prove yourselves, you'll remain with the company, but I will be monitoring your progress closely." Meanwhile, in the airport terminal, members of the press had already gathered, asking questions about the incident. A journalist called out, "Mr. Williams, what are your thoughts on what happened? Many are calling this a scandal that damages Skyways' reputation." Martin stepped forward confidently and addressed the crowd. "This is a lesson for all of us. Skyways is not just an airline, it's a family. And in a family, mistakes are opportunities for growth. We have already begun making changes that will make us stronger. This incident is not a scandal, but a chance to prove that we can learn and improve." His statement quickly went viral, with thousands of people praising Martin's composure and his commitment to meaningful change. Epilogue: Transformation. In the days that followed, Skyways launched a public initiative to combat bias, including lectures, workshops, and mandatory hands-on training for all employees. Emily and Stephen not only completed the training successfully, but became active participants in the program. In an interview, Emily admitted, "This experience opened my eyes. I realized how deeply ingrained biases can be and how important it is to fight them." Months later, Skyways was awarded for implementing best practices in diversity and inclusion. The company's reputation not only recovered, but grew stronger, with passenger satisfaction reaching new heights. Martin, observing these changes, felt a sense of fulfillment. Sitting in his office, he looked at a photograph of his late father, the man who inspired his unwavering commitment to justice, and said aloud, "We did it, and this is only the beginning." Skyways had become more than an airline. It was now a symbol of progress and change,